So lately, most of my gaming has been basically pen and paper dungeon crawls. And I found that I'm just drawn to these right now for a variety of reasons, including time and ease of setup and kind of footprint and just mostly the capacity to pick them up and put them down and store them away in a binder or whatever, because I don't have a lot of concentrated gaming time right now for a variety of reasons. So I've I've been doing a lot of that, and that's been great, but I also find myself, despite the attraction of the pen and paper dungeon crawl, and there are a number of them that I've covered on the channel, I find myself wanting to build them up a little bit, and I thought I would do a video on the ways or the accessories that I find myself using right now when I'm playing various game systems. So, like, I'll start out with just a book, and then as I'm going and playing, I'll find that I bring in various things. And so this video is just going to touch on a few of the things that I'm currently using and finding have really enhanced my gameplay. And to me, some of them, I mean, some of them are like super simple, just like bringing in like a mini and just standing it there. This wasn't actually going to be part of the video. It's just here, but even just taking a mini and sticking it, on your graph paper, at least for me, begins to change the gameplay experience. And that is a super simple way, obviously, of enhancing your pen and paper dungeon crawls. We're going to talk a little bit about things that are a little bit more involved than just a mini. But if you're new to pen and paper dungeon crawls and you find that you have the appeal that they have an appeal in their simplicity. This video might show you that there are some ways to incrementally enhance them, and you can spur creativity that way. You can have a more visual interest. Here's another guy I always use. If you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you'll recognize this fellow that will provide some enhancements to a pen and paper dungeon crawl without sort of bloat and without causing you to be, in essence, thinking like, why am I not just playing a big dungeon crawl out of a box? So the first thing that I want to talk about is this is a 3D printed dungeon. It's called Pocket Dungeon. It is a game, and the game rules actually call it Pocket Dungeon Abyss. Pocket Dungeon itself is another game, and I've covered that game on the channel. It's a pen and paper dungeon crawl. So just to not have confusion here, you can use this Pocket Dungeon with that other game, and I'm going to talk about the ways in which I've been using this, and it is its own playable game as well. But what I really wanted to show you, and I will put the link down in the video description of how you can print these files. This was sent to me by the designer of it, and I've been using it mostly as a toolkit. These are some really cool D4s that come with it, because to play it for its own rules, you're using D4s, and it's a very clever system where you can see notched onto each D4 is a value, a number 3, 2, and 1. So these dice are used to create different values when you roll them, and depending on how you're rolling them, the number die is going to refer to something different. But what's really cool about it, for me, with my pen and paper dungeon crawls, is the ability to place onto this whatever values I want that match with the game that I'm playing. These are meant to be the enemies in the game and the boss in the game, and this is your character. And then there are a number of little things here that measure like their potions and items that you can find, and as well as some trackers. And then of course there are the dungeon walls, and this is where I think for me I've gotten the most use out of it when playing or drawing out a dungeon on graph paper, to just kind of use these to make a suggestion of what's going on, to place an enemy, and to place my character helps me really envision what's going on. And as we'll see in the rest of the video, some of the things that I bring in to my pen and paper dungeon crawl are what I would consider to be suggestible items, that these are things that give a suggestion of a feeling or of an action that could be taken. And so to use this physical component in conjunction with that can be it just adds a lot. So you are looking around, you're looking around a corner or there's something hidden in the depths there. I think it could be nice to just have that visual accompaniment to what you're doing. And this is an exit door. There's also a portal here somewhere. I think that, oh, here's the portal up in the corner. Again, from the rules to play this game. But I have found, to my surprise, that just adding on this and its portability, the fact that you can kind of fold it up and take it with you, is has been brought a great change to my gameplay. And that's leading me into the kind of next layer that I bring to my pen and paper accessorizing, which are some what I would call like thematic cards. And I'm going to show you maybe 4 decks of them that I find I use the most. This first one, I can't remember what it's called, but I will put that up in the video. It's pretty simple. It's got a noun, a verb, an adjective, and a kind of ambience or tone, and then a photo or a drawing, not a photo, a drawing. It's a deck of 52 cards, and so there's not a ton of them, but because you can choose what you're referring to, there is a lot. There's also a direction here that you could use, and they are just something to, it's just a suggestive thing. So if you pulled this card, for example, you could take any number or one of these things to cause you to do something like escape or run, or maybe you decide you're going to be focusing on the ambience word, or maybe this is going to signal that there's going to be a new monster or something. It's just providing you with a kind of unexpected variety. So I'm going to say, all right, whatever this noun is going to impact my game. So, well, that's the same card, escape. So you would, if you decided that rural, well, that might suggest, or excuse me, rival, that might suggest that there is some type of PC coming in to the game. It's just a way of taking whatever you're doing and throwing something randomizing into it. And that is just the name of the game, as it were, when you're doing solo RPG and when you're trying to just build a little increment into what you are doing. The Inked Adventures map and dice playing cards, which is this deck of cards, I find this is actually most useful for what it says on it. Of course, you can map out, and this is what I was saying here. You could choose to kind of build this out, a little picture out here if you wanted to. And yet I find like just the suggestion of the night watch, or, oh, I'm in a daylight cavern, that can also be just enough to take me in a direction that is a little bit outside of the rules of whatever it is I'm playing, whether it's Four Against Darkness, basic dungeon crawl, or pocket dungeon, the pen and paper game, or any number of pen and paper dungeon crawls. Just a little something that gives me Grim Gate, a narrative suggestion, or a narrative choice. Moving sort of up a little bit from this, the Deck of Many Dungeons actually gives you some specific choices and things. So we've got not only maps here, but you've got tables, and I've showed all of these decks in various videos. I just thought I would put some of it together for you. So, for example, here you're given not only a little treasure table, but you're given some pictures here that you could interpret and perhaps use. You're told that there's a hard lock here, an easy lock here. different types of monsters as opposed to different treasure. So this is also giving a little bit more suggestion. And of course, it comes with its own instructions for the Joker and how to interpret treasures and some NPCs and little quests you can build, what the traps might be if you encounter the random traps. But pairing it with an existing rule set, it offers just a little bit more structure here. And again, forcing you or giving you the opportunity, I guess is the way to say it, giving you the opportunity to add in some random decision making or prompts into your game. And then the last one that I wanted to show, this is from the Lichdom RPG. It's a regular poker deck of cards, but there are these word prompts here that doom, adversity, companion, scheming, that event, they sort of do repeat themselves, but I really just like the artwork on here. And I find this is again something that I could use and bring in just as a prompt. And then along the lines of this artwork is the last deck I want to show. This is my Hermetic tarot deck, and I'm going to do a whole video on tarot and gaming, but I thought I would just show it here because the artwork itself, not the actual cards themselves and reading the cards themselves, which is a different thing altogether, but the artwork itself, I think, can be used pretty successfully to add on just interpretive, like to visually interpret something and have it impact your gameplay here. So for example, you could look at this and say, like, this represents a trap, for example, if you were playing and then a trap would appear in your game. So this is just some type of scaffolding that you could use. Maybe this is like a poisonous, maybe this represents poison in some way. Again, this is not based in the readings of these cards. This is just using the artwork here, which is, I think, very evocative and lends itself toward dungeoneering or dungeon crawling. Perhaps this represents a spear trap, or perhaps this represents hordes of enemies coming to you. So this particular tarot deck, I think, is also useful if you want to expand in that way and get yourself just another set of visuals that I think do lend themselves to the idea of dungeon crawling outside of the tarot readings themselves. And the next thing I want to talk to you about is, in a way, the most obvious, but I also think perhaps the most overlooked, and that is using supplements that are designed for traditional RPGs in your own solo pen and paper dungeon crawl. And for this segment, we're going to focus on the 4th volume of Knock, which is an adventure gaming bric-a-brac that is a compendium of miscellanea for use with old school role-playing games. It can be used really with almost any rule set. I have done videos on the prior 3 volumes of this, so you can find those on my channel, or I'll try to put the links in the description. These books are taken from existing, and I think maybe there's some unique content also for each volume, but existing blogs that are written, and it's a combination of some random tables and things that we're going to take a look at, as well as some essays about gaming in general and GMing, and also being a player, and so as a whole, I think it's great information for gamers. But what we're going to focus on here in looking at this 4th volume, is just some examples of the kinds of tables and things that come in these volumes. They're quirky and I think could add a lot to your experience, but they're also pretty concise. So again, you're not bringing in a whole other level of stuff. So the first one is, there's a There's a table here called Elements of Incongruity, and you can roll on different aspects. So there's D6 tables if you want to add in an incongruous character trait or an individual, a PC, or some type of a nature, somebody not seeming what they are, or some type of incongruity in action. And again, the options here just bring in a give you some, again, give you some prompts. So for example, here, if we have incongruous ambition, this person has always aspired to something utterly different in their current life. Maybe they wanted to pursue a very different career, like a sailor who wanted to be an artist, or vice versa. Depending on context, this ambition may be something they talk about all the time or something they keep carefully hidden. So if you added that in to your character creation, you could then carry that as a through line in your story, and when relevant, it could impact the action that you would take. So for example, if you encountered a treasure chest full of gold, well, maybe your character isn't all about the money, and maybe you, instead of taking that treasure chest, you scavenge it for the wood of the chest or something like that. It would give you a prompt to, again, carry through and to impact your story. Another thing here is we've got a 4d8 golem generator, so you can just create a new monster if you encountered one, and it would give you some prompts here that would allow you to just think about and bring some three-dimensionality to the encounter. If they were surrounded by an energy aura, for example, or if they launched shrapnel, you would have to think about what that would actually mean, how that would impact your story, how that would impact your character in terms of wounds. Again, we're just looking for little ways to embellish a basic dungeon crawl. Here's a table, what's that in the sarcophagus? It's a D10 table of what might be in a sarcophagus. And then we've got some magic item possibilities, a table here that will give you the form, the material, the power. Again, something on the fly that would be generated that you would need to then respond to. Just like this. This is kind of... is it really worth the effort? D86, annoying and cumbersome treasure. So, you think you get something, but it turns out to be really bulky or really heavy. And well, why? What is the impact of that? So that is something that you would have to deal with, again, on the fly. We've got 200 sorcery words here that are sort of spell descriptions that you could use to create an odd summoning spell or some type of flying carpet all of a sudden. Once again, the theme here is just giving you something random that is a narrative prompt that will allow you to interact in a creative and unique way with your existing dungeon crawl and your existing rule sets here. We've got a list here of helpful souls, like PCs that might come in. And we have some monster reactions. These are kind of underworld based, but each of these reactions has a little table here, so they might be militant or greedy or hostile. Again, causing you to go back to your character, go back to your rule set, and improvise. And I think the improvisation aspect here is really the theme of this video, that what are things that you can bring into an existing rule set that will give you enough prompts to have to improvise, and in that improvisation, sort of deepen your story here. And here are finally, we'll just take a look at these optional character creation types. So for the dwarf, you've got these D6 tables that will give just a little more flavor, so that maybe you get an extra reroll, or you get some extra spells if you have that particular type of armor. So that's something that happens more at character creation, to add just a little extra something on. And then the final thing I want to look at is the smallest and maybe the easiest thing here, but the thing that kind of summarizes the theme of this video, which is, what is a prompt that is going to add story, that is going to cause you to improvise, to think on your feet, and to take your story in a different direction? Using this who, what, where, when, how die can really add a lot and accomplish all of these things in a very simple way. So if you roll this before you go into a room, say, it gives you a theme or a focus for this room, that whatever you might encounter, say it's a monster or a trap, could lead you to think about what is behind that. What is the how of that and how you interacted with that? Maybe you wouldn't just fight the monster. Maybe you would try to capture it and have it take you to the boss or something like that. Again, it is causing you to think, well, what is behind this? What is, maybe this is going to prompt you to do more investigation or searching in the particular room that you're in to try to scavenge for materials and things like that. This is perhaps the most abstract of what I'm showing you, but it's something to consider when you are looking for ways to accessorize and deepen your experience, and you want to take like a little bit of a step into solo RPG based on a simple pen and paper rule set.